Okay, guys, back with another sermon. And this particular sermon is a word for this month, the month of April, this first day of April. Now, we know last month I had a word for that month, the month of March, and it had to do with temptation. I did a sermon called Temptation 2019. And so that was my first time really having a sermon for a month. That would be the theme for the month. Well, this sermon is going to be the theme for this month for some of you. And the name of this sermon is going to be called New, They Said. It will be fun, they said. I'll say that again. The name of this sermon is New, They Said. It will be fun, they said. I'll explain that here in just a second, but let me tell you what this sermon is about. Really, this message is for two types of people. The first group of people, you must understand that this is a month in which people or groups of people or a person will try to come into covenant with you or agreement with you. And it's a bad covenant. It's a bad deal. They may make it sound good. They may make it sound like they have good intentions, but it is a no-go. It's something that you should not let happen. And for the other set of people, this message is basically to let you know that there are people behind the scenes that are going to try to come into covenant or agreement against you, which is also, of course, another bad covenant. And truth be told, this sermon, for some of you, it could be a little bit of both. It could be both, that you have people who will try to come into a negative agreement or covenant with you, while at the same time, there are folks behind the scenes who are trying to come against you in an evil, negative covenant to cause you trouble, to cause your vision to not be birthed out and brought forth, or to simply cause delays and setbacks so that they can try to ravage what should be rightfully yours. Now, with all that said, you might be thinking, well, what type of covenants? What do you mean? What type of deals? What type of agreements? Because that's what a covenant is. It's an agreement. It's a deal. It's a contract. It's something along those lines. So you might be saying, well, what is it? What does this have to do with me? What are you getting at? Let me explain the title of this message real quick. The name of it again is New, They Said. It will be fun, they said. Now, the "it will be fun, they said" part might sound familiar to some of you. If you spend a lot of time on Facebook or social media, there's a common meme that is said a lot, or a quote that is said a lot. And what it is it's the "it will be fun, they said" quotes. And what people will do is this: they will say something, and then they will say, "it will be fun, they said." They'll add that to the end of it. And what they're basically doing is they're being sarcastic. You kind of have to try to read into the tone of what they're saying. They're being sarcastic, and what they're doing is they're presenting an idea that someone gave them, and they're saying that the people said, hey, this idea is fun, but they're saying it in a sarcastic way. In other words, they're saying it turned out to not be so fun. For example, let's say someone puts a post online and they say, "have kids, they said. It will be fun, they said." And then you'll notice that people will laugh at it. They'll hit the laugh button or something like that, because they get that that person is being funny and sarcastic. What that person is saying is this. What that person is saying is they may have had some influences, some friends that had kids, and their friends or influences told them, hey, man, having kids is awesome. This is fun. You should, man, this is exciting. I can't wait to see you have kids. You're going to love it. And so they went along with it. They had kids. And what they're basically saying is, now that I done had kids, I done found out it's not as fun as I thought it would be. I've got a lot of stuff on my plate. I just wasn't ready for it. I wasn't really prepared to have kids. So it's not as fun as people made it out to be. That's what they mean if they say, Have kids, they said. It will be fun, they said. It's just their funny, sarcastic way of saying, I was told this was going to be fun, and it's not. So people, they get it. They'll hit the laugh button because they get that it's a joke. It's a serious joke. They really mean it, but they're being funny at the same time. Like, man, this kind of sucks right now. This is not so fun. Maybe someone will say, move into this neighborhood, they said. It will be fun, they said. It's their way of saying, I moved into this neighborhood because people said it would be fun, and it is not fun. I got here and found out it sucks here. It is not fun. And so people will hit that laugh button and get in the comment section and say, man, I tried to tell you not to move there. They lied to you when they said, when they told you to move there. I told you they were just getting you in a trap, and now you're there, and now you just in there. You're just in there. It's too late now. You done paid that deposit. You might as well ride it out. No. But that's what they mean. So the name of this sermon is New, they said. It will be fun, they said. And what I mean is this. There are some of you, as I've said, that people will try to link up with you, come into covenant or agreement with you. And what they're trying to come into agreement with you on is the vision. What I mean is you may have a vision, or it may be a vision or an idea that God has given you, and it is something that has been stirring up inside of you. And this will be the month that some of you will begin to see things start to come into play. You will start to see the birthing process of this vision, of this idea, of your book, of your ministry, of your business. Just different things, you know, the marriage or the family or whatever it is, whatever idea it is going to start coming forth. You've seen some things start to play out last month. And for some of you, late last month was kind of the kickoff for it. But this month is the month where you really start seeing some stuff unravel. You start seeing some things really pick up in your vision. You really see some things just be brought forth. And now you know why. Last month, it was a big deal that I let y'all know, hey, this word about temptation is here because that has led up to this. Because whoever this is for, you overcame that temptation, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, the pride of life. You overcame it last month. And so now you are at a point where changes have been made at the end of last month to get ready for this vision, whatever it is that you're bringing forth. And so now this month of April, things are going to really start moving forward, kicking off. It's really going to start shooting out. And so there are people that see this. And so there are people that have been watching you for quite some time, but especially last month. And so now this is the month where people are going to start trying to latch on to you, or rather leech onto you, because that's what they're doing, is being leeches. They're going to try to leech onto you. And the reason why is because whenever the right thing comes, the counterfeit always comes first. I've been talking about that this year. I've been mentioning that so much this year. Every time the real deal is about to come, the counterfeit has to come first and try to deceive you. That's how the enemy works. So because the real deal is showing up this month, the counterfeit is quickly coming. And what the counterfeit is doing is the counterfeit is trying to team up with you. Last month, it was about the enemy and counterfeits trying to tempt you into getting off course. But now this month, it's kind of like that old saying, if you can't beat them, you might as well join them. Now the tactic is you couldn't be beat. You overcame. So if you can't be beat, now the enemy at the last minute is going to try to join in, make covenant with you. And I'm letting you know up front not to make these covenants. And what it is there will be people that will come on board and say, I'm down with this vision. I'm down with the new thing that you're trying to do, or the new thing that God is trying to do through you. New, 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 newy, new, mech, newy, new, new, new. They're all they're just saying new. We're all about this new thing. I want to know these new ideas. What are these new plans? They're saying they're on board. They say they want to finance this and they want to help you with that and they want to give you the resources for this and they want to walk with you on that. They're all about this new, but the truth is it's a lie when they say they're all about the new. Yeah, they want to come into agreement, but they're trying to get something out of it. They're doing it for their gain, but it's not because necessarily they care about your vision. They don't care about the vision. They don't care about the new thing. They could care less, but they're saying they're for it for their own gain and to get what they can and leave at a good time or crush you in the process if they can before leaving. They're just in it for gain, and it's going to ruin what is being brought forth out of you in this month. So what they're saying is we're all about this new, but if you come into agreement with them and make deals with them and shake hands with them and sign contracts with them, later on you'll find yourself saying, it will be new, they said. It will be fun, they said. You'll be the person on social media talking about, they said this, they said that. It will be fun, they said, in a sarcastic tone while people hit the laugh button and say, yeah, I saw they coming. Yeah, I tried to warn you they were no good. Yeah, I knew they were lying to you. So you don't want to be that person that says, it will be new, they said. It will be fun, they said. Okay, so let's dig into this. So the first group of people I'm talking to, the ones that need to avoid those who say that they're about the new but really aren't. I'm going to talk to y'all first, then I'll talk later to those of y'all that have people covenanting together against you behind the scenes. So first we'll be in Joshua chapter 9, and then later we'll be in Matthew 26 and also Matthew 15. So Joshua chapter 9, let's look at this starting at verse 3. It says this, and when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard that Joshua had done unto Jericho and to Ai, they did work willily and went and made as if they had been ambassadors and took old sacks upon their asses and wine bottles, old and rent and bound up, and old shoes and clouded upon their feet, and old garments upon them, and all the bread of their provision was dry and moldy. And they went to Joshua unto the camp of Gilgal, and said unto him and to the men of Israel, we be come from a far country. Now therefore make ye a league or a covenant with us. Let me stop right there real quick and get you all up to speed on what's going on here before I read further. Now, we know in the first books of the Bible, there's Genesis, but then there's Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. In those first sets of books, we see God use Moses to lead God's people, the Israelites, out of slavery and out of bondage from Egypt, right? So they're on this long journey going through the wilderness, basically going in circles, trying to get to the promised land. And in order to get there, they have to cross the river Jordan, but they never get to that point because of just rebellion and murmuring and complaining and mistakes and just all kinds of stuff. So what ends up happening is right before they get to cross the Jordan, Moses makes a mistake. Aaron had already messed up and God did away with him. But now God has let Moses know, okay, now you're not going to get to Passover, even though you've led them for so many years and you've done a great job. You made a mistake. You're not going to get to Passover. I'll let you, go up high and take a glimpse of all that, all that you're going to get to miss out on, but you're not going to get to cross over into the promised land either. And so what he does is he raises up Joshua. God has Moses raise up Joshua. And it's funny, I just talked in my last sermon about raising up people, raising up someone, being someone's spiritual father, and raising them up for ministry and this and that. But anyway, so he gets Joshua in place. Joshua is going to be the new leader of the people, and he's going to be the one to officially help them cross Jordan and go over into the promised land. And so now here we are after Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. We are now in the book of Joshua. And sure enough, Joshua is the leader. And in the chapters prior to this, Joshua, man, he hit the ground running when he was put in position. He got the people moving. He had a plan set in place. He had a vision. He sent the spies out. Y'all know the story of the spies and Rahab, the harlot, and just the whole 9 yards. So now they passed Jordan. They're taking over territories. It seems like every place their feet tread, they just take over that place and they slay people and take the spoil and just take over territories. And so they're getting the work done and moving at such a quick speed that word is getting out about them, and different kings of different territories, they're hearing about Joshua, and they're hearing about the Israelites, and they're hearing about their God, the one true living God, and they're freaking out, and they're shaking in their boots, so to speak. And so different kings who probably don't like each other and probably normally would not have much to do with each other, they're coming together and they're plotting and they're scheming and they're trying to figure out what to do. In fact, the first couple of verses in this chapter, we see several kings trying to figure out what they can do, how they can team up to come up against the Israelites, because they don't want their territory overtaken. But we see these Gibeonites, these Gibeons, they have a different plan. They have a different tactic. Their idea is, instead of trying to come up against the Israelites, instead of coming up against God and his people, they've decided to be deceitful and lie about who they are and pretend to just be on the side of God's people so that they can get in good with them. In other words, they want to come and be a part and blend in with them so they don't have to end up fighting them. And so what they do is they say, well, we're from a far away land, and we want to make a league with you, or a covenant with you. We want to come into agreement. We want to come together and be one with you guys. And what they did was they lied. They got clothes and shoes and sacks and wine bottles and all these different things, this food and all these different things, and the stuff was old. Did you catch that in verses 4 and 5? All that stuff that they had was old, but what they did was they lied and said, well, all this stuff was originally new. It's new stuff. But because we're from such a far away country, a far away land, as we traveled, the stuff just so happened to get old. But it was new, we promise. That's the lie they told, but truth be told, the stuff was already old. So they're all about the old, but they're presenting it as something new. It just looks a little old. We can just dust it off. We just clean it off real quick. It looks old, but we promise it's really new. Y'all already see where I'm going with this. I told you that, and it's the same way with you. You're supposed to have some people. They're going to come up. They're going to be deceitful about who they are, where they're from, and what they're about. And they're presenting to you that they're all about the new, but everything about them screams old. Uh-oh. Dun, dun, dun. All right, let's keep going. So let's see the response. It says this, verse 7. It says, and the men of Israel said unto the Hivites, peradventure ye dwell among us, and how shall we make a league with you? And they said unto Joshua, we are thy servants. And Joshua said unto them, who are ye, and from whence come ye? So now he's asking them, who are y'all? Where do y'all come from? Now they said a faraway land, but now Joshua is trying to get down to the nitty gritty of who they are and where they're really from and what they're about. It says this, verse 9. And they said unto him, from a very far away country thy servants are come because of the name of the Lord thy God. For we have heard the fame of him and all that he did in Egypt. So they were honest about the fact that they've heard about the fame of these people and their God. But they still keep saying, oh, we're from some faraway country. But never mind that, we've heard about y'all. So they're still not quite getting down to the nitty gritty of who they really are and where they're really from and what they're really about. The one true thing they can say is, we've heard about y'all. We've heard about you Israelites and the God that got y'all out of Egypt and split the Red Sea and helped y'all cross the Jordan and helped y'all take over all these territories. They heard that part. They told the truth about that. That's the one thing they'll be truthful about. We heard about y'all. They'll be honest about that part. So, let's keep going here. It says this, verse 10, and all that he did to the two kings of the Amorites that were beyond Jordan, to Sihon, king of Heshbon, and to Og, king of Bashan, which was at Ashtaroth. Wherefore our elders and all the inhabitants of our country spake to us, saying, take victuals with you for the journey, and go to meet them, and say unto them, we are your servants. Therefore now make ye a league with us. Make a covenant with us. Verse 12, this is our bread we took hot for our provision out of our houses on the day we came forth to go unto you. But now behold, it is dry and moldy. So they're still giving this story about, oh, all this stuff was new and clean and fresh and hot right off the press. But because of this long journey that we took to get to you from this faraway land, all this stuff is ruined. But never mind that. Verse 13, and these bottles of wine which were filled were new, and behold, they be rent, and these our garments and our shoes are become old by reason of the very long journey we've taken. And the men took of their victuals and asked not counsel at the mouth of the Lord. This is where the mistake came in. It says that they did not seek God. They went on ahead, they took this old stuff that was presented as new, and they went on ahead and took it and considered this idea to come into an agreement and a league, a covenant with these people, but they did it without consoling God. They did it without seeking what the Lord would have to say about this. And finally, verse 15, and Joshua made peace with them and made a league or a covenant with them to let them live, and the princes of the congregation swear unto them. They swore it. We swear we will be in agreement with y'all. We'll team up with y'all. We will not kill y'all and take y'all over. We swear it. They messed up. Bless their hearts. But I need you to see that. I need you to see they didn't seek the Lord. And so with that said, the answer to this problem that is coming your way, or that is being presented to you probably right now, is simply put, you've got to pray. You've got to seek God. You've got to seek God. And for those of you who may not be facing this quite yet, but this may be for you, go ahead and start praying in advance. Just like how we say praise God in advance. Well, pray to God in advance. Seek him on some things. Seek, is this about me? Is this for me? Or if you know it's for you, say, Lord, I believe this is for me. I see some people trying to make these deals with me and trying to be my friend and trying to covenant up with me and trying to live with me and trying to make deals with me and wanting me to sign the dotted line, sign a contract. Lord, I don't know. It seems strange. It seems fishy. They're saying one thing. They're saying they agree, but I'm seeing some things and hearing some things that contradict. They're saying they're about about the new, but they seem to be all about the old. I'm just not sure. I have a funny feeling about these folks. God, is this of you? Is this from you? Should I team up, or is this a plan from the enemy? You should be seeking the Lord and praying on this matter. You have to seek counsel with the Lord. You got to do that before making the deal. So with that said, there's that's the answer. But again, I got to go over these 3 things that are going to be signs that you should be a little bit suspicious of some folks. Number 1, this is what I put in my notes. It says you don't and can't really know them. Remember, they said in this story, the folks were saying, well, we're from this faraway land. And then when Joshua tried to get them to be more specific and go into details about some things, they just kept, well, we're from this faraway land. They couldn't tell you the name of the land. They didn't go into details about them personally. But they knew personal stuff about Joshua and the Israelites, which leads me to number 2. Number 2 says they know you because they have been watching you. So even though you can't really know them, you can only know so much about them, what they will tell you and what they will present to you. Even though you can't really know them, you can only know so much about them. They already just so happen to know a lot of stuff about you. And they're going to set it up to where they will always know way more about you than you will really know about them. It's their way of having the upper hand. It's their way of feeling like, okay, we're ahead because we know more about them than they know about us. Okay. That's the second one. Number 3 is this. They say new with their lips, but old is in their hearts. They're just not going to be honest. They're going to say, we're all about the new. We're all about this. We're all about this. But not really. When it comes down to the nitty gritty of it, if y'all sit there and plan stuff out and map stuff out, they're always going to be like, well, yeah. But see, we need to do this. Sure. But this right here. Oh, yeah, that right there. But no, this right here. In order for them to league up with you, you got to change who you really are. You got to act like you're somebody you're not. You got to talk like this and wear these clothes instead of what you've been wearing, and wear your hair a certain way and wear your makeup a certain way, or not wear it at all, or come on. By the time they're done with you, you won't be you. You'll be a whole nother person that they've manufactured as if you're a robot, not actually human. And you'll be presented and thrust forth. And sure, you might get some sweet deals. You might get some money. You might get this. You might get that. But you have to sell out to get it. And you'll find yourself not even fully walking into the vision and into the blessing and into the prosperity and into the resources that God has set forth in place for you, because it'll all be about man and what man wants for you to have and what man will do for you. In other words, the people that gets you to follow their agenda, they will basically throw some things at you, throw some things to you, like throwing bits to a dog, because that's all you are to them. Throwing bits to a dog to keep you bound by their plan. What was supposed to be your plan, it's really now their plan. And so now all of a sudden you look up and it's not new. It's just old news presented in what should be a new package, but it's all old. It's all old. It's the same thing, just repackaged, refurbished, as they say when you buy something used online. It's refurbished, but we promise it's as good as new. Anyway. So that's what you got to do. You got to pray on it. Pray for discernment. And if something bothers your discernment, if something don't feel right, don't seem right, don't be afraid to put shaking hands on hold to seek the hand of the Lord. So there's that for Group A. So now on to Group B. For those of you who you may have people, and some of you probably already know it, you already know people are working behind the scenes. You may know people are doing it, you just don't know who, or maybe you do know who. Maybe you know some, you don't know all, or maybe you know all of them. But you know, deep down in your gut, some stuff is working out against you. Some people working behind the scenes against you. Some folks who normally wouldn't talk to each other or probably don't even like each other. They're coming together like them kings I was talking about. Oh, Lord. Coming together because they're freaking out. They may act calm around you. They may act like you're nothing to your face, but behind the scenes, shaking in their boots, trying to figure out what to do. So they ain't going to try to make the deal with you, but they'll try to make some deals against you. So go to Matthew chapter 26. Matthew chapter 26. We'll start at verse 14. Real quick, it says this. Then one of the 12, called Judas Iscariot, went unto the chief priests. Of course, we got to bring Judas into this. He's the ultimate betrayer, ultimate backstabber. Verse 15, and said unto them, what will ye give me? And I will deliver him unto you. And they covenanted, here's that word covenant again. They covenanted with him for 30 pieces of silver. And from that time, he sought opportunity to betray him. So we know Jesus, our Lord and Savior. We know here in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, we read about Jesus and his life here on earth, what he did, how he healed people and set people free from different things and just ministered unto people and, all these different things. And we know he had 12 disciples, 12 people that he handpicked himself to teach and to raise up and prepare them to go on from being disciples to discipling others. And so one of those 12 people who were close to him was a man named Judas. And usually today when someone betrays us, turns their back on us, especially when their way of turning their back on us and betraying us is by teaming up with our enemies, we usually tend to call that person a Judas. And we see why here. Judas, when Jesus is not around Judas, he goes to the chief priest. He goes to the people who hate Jesus, who despise him, who want him dead. He goes to them in private and covenants with them. He comes into agreement, into a deal with them in which he will set it up to where at the right place, at the right time, he will lead them to Jesus in a private setting so that they can capture him where there won't be a lot of people trying to stop it. There won't be a lot of people trying to protest. They can just get a hold of Jesus and take him away and prepare him to be crucified. And what they offer him in return, because it's a deal, it's supposed to be give and take, it's a covenant. What Judas is supposed to get out of it is a mere 30 pieces of silver to sell out someone who you would think would be Judas's best friend. But it says, since that time forth, he sought opportunity to betray him. He was waiting for the right moment to make it official, to officially betray Jesus because of that money he got. And when he did that, when he opened his heart to be willing to betray Jesus, he opened the door up for the enemy, Satan, to enter into him, to be used by the enemy. So now skip down to verse 40. Verse 40, and we'll read on down from here. Verse 40, it says this. And he cometh unto the disciples and findeth them asleep, and saith unto Peter, what, could ye not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. There's that temptation word again. We just talked about that in the sermon I did last month. The word for last month, Temptation 2019. That was the name of the sermon. I was talking about temptation, overcoming temptation. Jesus is talking to his disciples. He got a few of his disciples and he took them on a walk. And then he sat them still and said, stay here, pray. I'm going to go up a little bit further and pray by myself, but stay here and pray as well. He goes, he prays, he comes back, and he sees them falling asleep, and he tells those few disciples, hey, can you not watch with me for an hour? Can you not stay up and pray so that you do not enter into temptation? He knew that they were going to be tempted into doing something or saying something or acting in a certain way that they shouldn't. He didn't want them to be in their flesh, so he told them, okay, listen, there's been temptation, but there's one major bit of temptation that's about to come y'all's way, and there's something coming my way as well, but we need to be ready for it. And our way of getting ready is not to go and investigate people and question people and interrogate people and try to bully answers out of folks, but rather we need to spend time in prayer, seeking God, seeking the counsel of God, what they failed to do in the story I just read in Joshua. We got to seek God on this. We got to stay in his presence so that we do not, when the temptation comes to do something we shouldn't, this last bit of temptation to act out of foolishness, when we find out someone has betrayed us or is coming against us, we won't act out of our flesh. We'll be led by the Spirit. In fact, look at what it says in the rest of verse 41. It says, the spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Your spirit man may know the right thing to do, but if your flesh is too much in the way, you will act out in your flesh and do something stupid, something you'll regret later, something wild, something silly, something violent, something you don't need to do. You need to react the right way and sometimes not react at all in certain situations. And the only way you're going to overcome it is if you don't give in to temptation. And a great way to not give in to temptation is to pray. Verse 42, he went away again the second time and prayed, saying, O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, thy will be done. Jesus is praying to the Father God, and he's saying, I know what's coming. I know I got to do it. Let this cup pass from me, but if I got to do it, Lord, if it's your will, so be it. He knows his time of being crucified and paying the ultimate price for his people, for the sin of the world is coming, and he's just getting his mindset ready. In other words, he's getting himself ready to not fight against what he knows he has to do. He's praying to get his flesh out of the way so that he's not tempted to back out or tempted to fight back when those that have to come get him. And it says this, 43, and he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. And he left them and went away again and prayed the third time, saying the same words. Then cometh he to his disciples and saith unto them, sleep on now, and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that doth betray me. So Jesus is letting them know, okay, this is what we've been praying for. Someone's about to betray me, and the one that is to betray me is coming right now. Verse 47, and while he yet spake, lo, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves from the chief priests and elders of the people. So here comes Judas. And Judas is being followed by the men that he came into covenant with, the ones that are ready to take away Jesus, to humiliate him and belittle him and set him up to be crucified. So here they come with swords, with weapons in their hands. They're walking up. Here they come. Now you see what the praying is about. See, you praying and seeking the Lord on this matter of those coming against you in private to get ready to come against you in public. I'm letting out some stuff now, letting out some secrets. You pray not only so that you know what to do and what's coming, and not only so that you do not lash out in the flesh, but that you do what it is that God tells you to do in the situation, or do what you feel like the Lord is leading you to do in the matter. But here's one more reason why you pray and seek the Lord on it. Why? Because of this right here. See, it says here comes Judas, and it reminds us that he is one of the 12. He's one of the 12 disciples. In other words, he's one of the 12 men who should be the closest to Jesus. Now, Judas is coming to him while he's been praying with a few of the other disciples. See, because Jesus had already been praying and seeking the Lord anyway and in God's presence prior to all this. See, he knows that Judas is going to betray him. So he knows that when he gets his crew together that he wants to pray with him, he knows not to pick Judas because he's the one that's going to betray him. See, you praying and seeking the Lord is not only to know what's going on and to know how to deal with it and to not give in to temptation, but it's also, listen closely to this, it's also so that you know who to not ask to pray with you. See, here's what I mean. Listen, because this is about to get good. Listen to this. Oftentimes in Christianity, this is what happens. In Christianity, we start going to church, we hear about the Lord, we read our Bibles, and we learn that Christianity, a lot of Christianity is about praying and seeking God, right? We love to pray, and we get around people and around folks in the church that always have a prayer request, and so we get comfortable asking people to pray for us, asking the church to pray, asking people over the phone to pray, this, that, and the other, which is good. But after a while in your walk and in your maturity as a Christian, you begin to realize that you can't ask just any and everybody to pray with you about every little thing. Because you've learned the hard way that some people can't be trusted with your business. They're not really trying to pray for you. They'll pray against you and they'll talk about you to other folks when they should be praying about the matter. They're really just gossiping and slandering your name. They're letting your business fly out there versus praying about your business and your issues. Come on. So they'll come around and they'll talk to you and they'll let you vent to them and they'll let all that info in their ears. And so when you're saying, oh, girl, pray for me, man, pray for me, just pray on this issue with me. I need prayer, pray, because there's power in prayer. We know we can pray ourselves, but we know there's power in prayer, but also power in numbers. So the more people praying, the better. We know that. So we've learned that some folks, you ask them to pray, you let them know what's going on with you, and then you find out you can't trust them. You find out you can't trust certain folks, so you start asking less people, and you get to a point where you start thinking to yourself, okay, if I'm going to ask somebody to pray, I got to be picky about who I go to about this particular matter. Right? Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. After a while, you don't tell any and everybody every little thing you want prayer about. You get real picky. Next thing you know, you go from asking everybody in the church and everybody on social media for prayer on certain things in which you're going to have to expose personal business. After a while, you get to a point where you got maybe about 2 or 3 people. You know what I mean? You don't mind saying, y'all pray for me. God knows the need. But when it comes to a moment where you feel like you really got to tell some personal stuff going on with you and asking for prayer, you got a handful of people at the most, if that. Some of y'all got maybe 1 or 2 folks. But you get real careful and real picky on who you ask to pray with you about certain issues. Y'all know what I mean. And so you do that. And that's good. That's great. But the problem is the enemy is on to that now. The devil understands this now. He knows that you're not going to put everything out there to any and everybody. So now the plan, I'm telling you what's in his playbook right now. The plan is to try to use any of the few people that are close to you. Because you've learned not everybody can be too close. So he's trying to figure out who close to you he can use. And that's what happened here with Judas. Judas was one of the 12 that could be close to Jesus, but he did something that let his heart be open for the enemy to come in. And so when he opened that door, the enemy stepped right on in and began to use Judas. Come on. He began to use Judas as an enemy, someone who should be a friend, as a secret enemy, a frenemy as we call them. Come on. So the key is the enemy knows if he can get one of those few people close to you to be jealous of you or envious of you, or if he thinks he can send somebody to come and give that person enough money to turn their back on you, or come on, any little thing that person may have against you secretly, or if that person is somebody that they're easy to manipulate, or if that person is easy to pay off, or whatever it is, if the enemy thinks he can use someone close to you that you trust, he will try to use that person, and he'll allow that person to be a listening ear for your prayer request. So this is why you got to get quiet and remain quiet, because it's not that you're doing a terrible job, but you really got to get quiet and really seek the Lord. Stop venting less to people. Start praying more to God. Come on. Because whoever this is for, the enemy has figured out that you figured him out. So now he's trying to figure you out. He knows you figured it out. You can't tell certain things to any and everybody. You got your few friends. You got your trust issues, which are a bit understandable considering what you've gone through. And so now he's got to find a Judas. He's got to find somebody that's in that small inner circle of yours that he can get into the heart of to betray you. So he's looking, who is this person telling their secrets to? Come on. Is there one or two or three people that this person might be venting to? Asking that person to pray for them. Oh, pray about what? What is it? And that's where it all ties in together. That's what this is. That's what this is about. So you got to pray so that you can know, so that your eyes can be opened up to who you got to kind of back up from. That doesn't mean you have to be mean to them. It doesn't mean you got to be rude. But you got to be real. And you got to acknowledge reality for what it is and be honest with yourself about the situation, no matter how much it may hurt, to see that you may have to kind of back up from somebody a little bit and not tell them so much and not tell them, hey, pray about this, pray about that. But this is going to be good. It's going to work out for your favor, because it's going to force you into a position where you rely less on people to pray for you, and you seek him more yourself. You seek God more yourself, because just like people want your secrets, there are secrets that God is wanting to reveal to you about some things, situations, people, and what's to come, and what he's wanting to do in your life, and how he's going to deal with certain matters. And so he just needs you to be a listening ear to him. Not everybody else being a listening ear to you, but you got to be a listening ear to him. Okay? So that's what this is about. So real quick, let's keep going. Verse 48, it says, now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, whomsoever I shall kiss, that same is he. Hold him fast. See, Judas understands. He knows that these people know of Jesus, but they don't really know him, because there's a difference between knowing him and knowing of him. Judas knows Jesus. These people that are against Jesus simply know of him, which that's usually how it is. The people that really hate you and want you dead, they know of you. They don't really know you the way as good as they think they do. So they got to use somebody that really knows you for real. So he knows that they know of him, but they're still trying to figure him out. So he lets them know up front, when I lead you to him, just so there's no confusion, just so you don't accidentally grab the wrong one, and then Jesus sees it and he gets a chance to flee. What I want is, I want y'all to just follow my lead And the one, I'm going to give y'all a sign, and the sign is the one that I go up to and embrace and kiss and love on, that's the one. Then you get them. So there's no mistake about it. See, he knows, but it doesn't matter the scenario. It doesn't matter if it's rainy outside, because sometimes when it's rainy, you have a hard time seeing who's who out in the rain. It doesn't matter if it's rainy. It doesn't matter if it's dark outside. It doesn't matter if that person is surrounded by a crowd of people. If you know somebody, you know them. You know them in that crowd. You know them in the rain. You know them in the street lights, in the dark. You know them even if somebody else that just knows of them doesn't really know them. And so that's what Judas is saying. He's saying, listen, I know him. I know his hairstyle. I know his clothes. The enemy's got to get somebody that knows your hair. They know your wardrobe. They know your style. If you wear a certain cologne or perfume, they know your scent. They know your voice. They know the type of jokes you crack, or they know how serious you are. Come on. They know you because you've welcomed them into your bosom. They know you. No matter where you are, no matter who you're surrounded with, they know you. They see you right off the bat. Matter of fact, I use this for an example. When I got the mohawk years ago, people would see me from a distance and then they would know it was me. But then there came a point where I started wearing hats more often. I like to wear hats. And so I might be wearing like a flat bill hat, just out walking around. And somebody from a distance, they would be looking. Then they would yell, Colby, Colby. And I'll look. And I'd be thinking, I wonder how they know it's me. And then they would come up and sure enough, they would go, oh, I knew it was you because you got that walk. And I'd be thinking that walk, what kind of walk I got? But people who really know me and study me, they say I got a certain kind of walk. And I'm thinking, what is this walk? I'm just walking. I can't just walk. What? Because when someone knows you, they know you. They know your posture. They know your walk. They know your voice. I've even heard people say that I know that voice. I knew from around the corner that was your voice. I know that voice. I know that walk. I know that mohawk. Don't nobody else wear that but you. I know that was you. That's stuff people say, but they know something. They know. So that's what Judas is saying. I know them. Just follow my lead so that you'll get the right one. That's what the enemy's doing. He's trying to find somebody that knows you, not just they know of you. They know you. That's what he's trying to do. It says this. And forthwith he came to Jesus and said, Hail, Master, and kissed him. And Jesus said unto him, Friend, wherefore art thou come? Then came they and laid hands on Jesus and took him away. You see that? Master, hail, Master, and kissed him. He didn't just kiss him and embrace him. He said, Master. He called Jesus Master while setting him up. While in the middle of setting him up to be attacked, he calls him Master, not just even friend, not just leader, but Master. You can't get much lower than that. It's one thing to be like, oh, I got you now. You thought I was your friend. But to walk up to somebody and call them friend, pal, buddy, Master, while leading people, you don't get much lower than that. I mean, wow. But that was how the enemy chose to use him. Friend, Master. Judas said Master with his mouth, with his lips. But in his heart, he treated Jesus like he was a hard taskmaster, not a good master or a good father figure. But you see what I'm saying? He's saying something with his lips, but through his actions, his heart, something else was in his heart. The enemy was in his heart. His mouth said one thing, but his heart had something else going on in it. So now let's look at that. Group A and Group B. Now I've given y'all the answers: prayer, seeking God, using your discernment, and not playing dumb with what God shows you. It may hurt. you may be surprised or shocked at how people try to group up with you or try to group up against you. But don't be so hurt that you just turn a blind eye and say, oh no, I can't believe this. You better believe it. You better you better look at it for what it is and walk accordingly. So I've given you the outlook, I've given you the playbook, I've given you the answer. But now real quick, I want to wrap this up by showing you the coincidences. I said earlier that the third thing that you need for people in group A, the third thing you need to consider was that those people that want to covenant with you will say new with their lips, but old is in their hearts. And so now for group B, I'm saying the people that are covenanting against you are, they'll say friend or master or whatever with their lips, but in their heart is betrayal, right? They're saying one thing with their mouth, but something else is in their heart. So now let's look at this. The last place I'll take you, Matthew, still in Matthew, but just backing up to chapter 15. Jesus says this in verse 8. It says, this people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. Jesus said the same thing about those folks. He said, you know what? You may try to honor me with your lips. You say all these great things with your mouth, but what's going on in your heart is something totally different. Your heart is far from me. You got my name all in your mouth saying sweet stuff, but in your heart is envy and jealousy and hatred and anger and wrath, murder. A murderous spirit about yourself. You're full of spite and bitterness and just evil, all manner of evil. But you're saying something else with your lips, acting like I'm not going to catch on, acting like I'm not going to see the patterns, acting like I'm not going to see your actions which speak louder than your words. Like I'm not going to find out what you're saying honestly with your mouth about me in secret or behind the scenes while you come up and say sweet things to me to my face. Uh-oh. Whoa. As little kids will say, whoa, in the cartoons. But anyway, but he says that in vain they do these things. In vain they worship me, but teach the doctrines of men. And that ties into what I said. You got people saying, oh, we're all about the new. We're all about what God is doing. We're all about the vision. And they'll worship with you in vain. But it's all vanity. It's all vanity. Because at the end of the day, it's not about what they're saying to you or the false worship they're giving to the Lord about the new thing, because over here they're all about the old, and they're all about man and doctrines of man and inventions of man and opinions of man, and they want you to be bound by the opinions of man because, truth be told, they say they're not religious and they're spiritual, but they refuse to see the stick in their own eye. They can't see their own religiosity. They can't see it. They can't see that they are religious. They can't see that they are bound by man and the doctrines of man and the opinions of man. They just can't or refuse to see it. And when someone refuses to see it, they set themselves up to not be helped. You can't help them, but you can pray for them and pray to the Lord about them and about how to go about all this. That's all you can do, is simply pray. It all ties back to prayer. With that said, that's it. I said the word. You better receive it and It is what it is. It's all on you now. How are you going to react? How are you going to act, and how are you going to react? I'll pray us out here. Heavenly Father, I pray that those that would need this word, they would tune in, they would hear it, that they would not be quick to reject it. Reject this word because maybe it hurts. Maybe it hurts. Maybe they're thinking, I can't deal with this again. They're thinking, I can't deal with another rejection. I can't deal with another betrayal. I've already lost too many friends the past year, the past 2 years. I've dealt with this so much. I'm tired of it. I just don't care anymore. But Lord, these people, Lord, wake them up, stir them up. They got to care. They got to be alert. They got to be alert and sober and vigilant and ready for what the enemy is trying to do at this last moment as great things begin to be brought forth at a rapid, sudden speed. Lord, I pray that your people would just continue to pray and seek you and only you and give that listening ear to you, and that they increase in discernment right now in the name of Jesus, and that they will begin to walk and act accordingly, move swiftly, move in secret, move in silence until you say speak. And Lord, just have your will, have your way, and I give you the praise, glory, and honor. In Jesus' name I do pray. Amen.